Hi again. We've already spent some time talking about the consumption function, but that was just a side note. I've really been looking forward to starting the actual course. So, welcome to the first lecture. In the introductory video, I said that the economy is a process. The ultimate objective of this process is the satisfaction of human needs. So, if we want to understand the economy, we have to start by understanding what needs are and what it means for them to be satisfied. When looking up different definitions of economics, you will certainly come across a claim that its subject is the study of how people allocate their limited means to satisfy their unlimited needs. This definition became so popular and so familiar that we hardly stop to think about what it actually says. And that's exactly where the first fallacy slips in. To see where it hides, let's represent our means by M and our needs by N. Then, the level of attainable satisfaction we can express as the ratio M to N. Now, if our needs were truly unlimited, we could write them as infinity. That would give us M divided by infinity, which is always zero, regardless of how large our means may be. So, in other words, we would never be able to experience any satisfaction. So we know it's not true because the level of our satisfaction is clearly greater than zero. And that tells us that our needs have a certain magnitude. That is, they are limited. So why do economists say that they are not? Well, there might be many reasons for such a claim, but we will focus just on two of them, which I believe are most important. First, in practice, the overall magnitude of our needs is impossible to measure, due both to the diversity and to the even greater diversity of the ways in which they can be satisfied. But of course, the notions of being unmeasurable and unlimited have different meanings, so they shouldn't be confused. Second, and probably more important reason, is the fact that the magnitude of our needs may grow with an increase in our means. However, the fact that our needs may grow doesn't make them unlimited. Quite the opposite, because it tells us that at any given moment, they are what they are. But let's take a closer look at the process of their growth. As our means increase, we can satisfy our needs to a greater extent than before. So initially, our satisfaction increases as well. However, over time, we become accustomed to the new higher standard of living, and our satisfaction gradually declines until it returns to its normal level, that is, to a state in which we are neither particularly satisfied nor particularly dissatisfied. So, what we call getting used to a higher standard of living is precisely a manifestation of an increase in our needs that follows the increase in our means with a certain delay. To some extent, the growth of our needs can be quantitative. We may need more clothes, or a second car, or a bigger apartment. However, once our basic needs are satisfied sufficiently, it becomes primarily qualitative. But what quality actually means? To answer that question, we need to notice that we regard goods as being of higher quality when they are more intricate and more refined. The degree of purposeful complexity of a good determines how much order it can potentially contain, while its purity determines how much of that potential is actually realized. Quality can be understood as the amount of order actually embodied by a given good, or for the sake of comparison, by a given unit of its volume or mass. The fact that we attach so much attention to quality is no coincidence. Erwin Schrödinger observed in his book What is Life that living organisms are able to maintain their internal state only by taking in low entropy energy from the environment and releasing high entropy energy back into the environment. So, from this physical perspective, we could think about the magnitude of our needs as an amount of order we must take in over a given period to maintain our own state close to what we might call the ideal or desirable state. More generally, economics has much more to do with physics than it could appear at first glance. And it shouldn't surprise us. After all, we ourselves are physical systems embedded in a physical environment. Production, distribution, consumption are not abstract concepts, but real processes with a physical dimension of their own. Therefore, what we call the laws of economics are in fact generalized descriptions of how the laws of physics manifest themselves in our own actions. For example, the fact that we seek to maximize the ratio of our results to outlays is not a law specific to economics. It is a particular manifestation of a more fundamental principle of least action, a principle that governs all physical processes with no exception. The fact that we adapt more easily to an increase in our standard of living than to its deterioration also has its physical cause, which is time itself. It is the arrow of time which is responsible for the memory effect, sometimes also referred to as hysteresis. By the way, this effect is not limited to people or living organisms. It occurs also in materials and other inanimate objects. So, the highest standard of living from the past leaves a lasting trace on our bodies and minds. That's why two people with objectively the same means at their disposal can experience totally different levels of satisfaction, depending on whether their standard of living was higher or lower in the past. Sometimes we may feel disappointed by the fact that the pleasant feeling of heightened satisfaction that comes with an increase in our means cannot last forever and disappears so quickly. But it could hardly be otherwise because the growth of our needs that makes it fade away is just the manifestation of our ability to adapt. Moreover, the persistent feeling of not quite having enough proves essential to our well being. The state of permanent and complete satiety is far more difficult to endure than the sense of lack we live with every day. This is because when we cannot experience our needs, we can't experience anything, not even ourselves. So it is a state characteristic rather of death than life. This observation may seem philosophical, but it has also practical implication because it tells us that no need can be more than fully satisfied. So we can express the level of satisfaction as a number ranging from 0 to 1. And this will help us analyze the question of resource allocation more rigorously when we take into account the diversity of our needs. But we will leave that for the next time. I hope this lecture has given you something interesting to think about. If it has, please don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether they are positive or critical. After all, you don't have to be a professional economist to have something worthwhile to say about these issues. That's all for today. I hope I'll see you soon. Take care.